6 years ago, I worked at a Burger King. At the time back then, it was the only job that I could find in my area close to where I lived. I should mention I'm a female and I was recently out of high school. Working there was okay for the most part. Some of my coworkers were pretty cool, but others were weird. One of those weird ones was my manager, Jason. I thought Jason was strange from the first time that I got a job there and was hired. I mostly tried to avoid him because he would always have weird conversations with people and give weird looks. He also added me on Facebook early on. He would post some really strange things. The guy just overall seemed odd. He never really did anything that crazy at work, but a lot of little things. I only worked at the Burger King for a total of 4 months. When I was able to find a different job, I quit and started working somewhere else. I think about 2 months after I left Burger King, I got home from my new job one night to see a car parked in front of my house. I didn't recognize it, so it was a little bit strange, but when I looked closer, I saw that the car was off and nobody appeared to be inside. I went inside after that. I lived with my parents, and by this time it was late, probably like 11 p.m., and they had already gone to bed. I changed, took a shower, and then got into my bedroom. After I got in bed, I looked out my window, which was next to it, and I saw the car on the street still parked where it had been earlier. But this time, it looked like somebody was inside the driver's seat and moving around. I stood up and got closer to the window to get a better look. When I did, I finally saw who it was. The driver appeared to look right at me as I was looking out at them, and it was my old boss, Jason, from Burger King. We made eye contact for about a second, and afterwards, he looked over and I saw him suddenly start the car and then drive off. I couldn't believe my eyes. I hadn't been expecting to see him at all, and this was pretty creepy. The next day, I drove back to the Burger King where I had worked. I walked inside and found the person working behind the counter. Thankfully, it was morning time and not very busy yet, and I wanted an explanation for what had happened. I didn't recognize the person working and had never seen them when I was there. I asked him if Jason was there. The guy behind the counter shook his head and said he wasn't sure who that was. I then saw someone who I had been a coworker with named Chris. He walked over and said hi to me. I asked him if Jason was working. He told me no, Jason had been fired a month earlier. When I asked more, he didn't know exactly why he had been fired. All he knew was he didn't work there anymore. I told him about seeing Jason outside my house the night before. He told me that he hadn't seen Jason since before he was fired, but he said after I had quit, Jason talked about me a lot, and he found it creepy. I was really angry hearing this. I left and went back home, but I didn't really think anything could be done about it. It didn't seem like he had done anything illegal, because he never actually went into my yard. I was nervous that night, and I had a hard time getting to sleep, but thankfully, I didn't see Jason or his car. I figured I scared him off when I saw him the previous night. The next few nights, I didn't see him either. But about a week later, when I was sleeping in the middle of the night, I woke up to hear noises coming from my window. I was really dazed at first from being asleep, but quickly woke up when I saw the figure of a man taking up my whole bedroom window. I turned the lights on and screamed, and he quickly disappeared. My parents woke up from across the hall and ran in. We called the police after that. When they arrived, I told them everything. Luckily, Jason ended up being caught.